Hello, thank you for joining me, all of my beautiful writers out there. And I thought I'd introduce myself. My name is Katrina. I go by Catherine Faye. And I tend to be an author of very creepy tales. That's why I like to have all of my creepy relics around me. You caught me while I was editing. But I thought I would do an AuthorTube newbie tag for you because this is technically my first video. So most people know that Jenna Streety is the one who started the AuthorTube newbie tag, both the first version as well as the second version. And I decided I was going to kind of combine the two versions together to answer questions for you guys if you're interested. So with that being said, let's go. The first question is how'd you find out about AuthorTube? I've been lurking around AuthorTube for a few years now. I didn't really feel like I was capable of joining at first, but I've had a lot of people ask, as well as, why not? There's really nothing wrong with joining AuthorTube, and you get to talk to a lot of people and help others. So what genres do I write in? Mostly I write about anything dark. I love talking about the dark connections of the heart and the soul between people. I love supernatural, fantasy, but I really write toward the complexity of the character's internal struggle, despite having an external struggle, and how they both play together. A lot of it, I started out with young adult. I've also done adult, and I still write adult many, many times. And currently, right now, I'm writing a middle grade series that takes place in Baltimore, under its sewer system, with goblins and fae and the old Celtic traditions that I grew up with. The next question is, what is your preferred writing tense, point of view, and category of story? Again, I'm kind of eclectic. I'll go all around. Adult, middle grade, YA. If the premise is enough and it inspires me, then I will write about it. I'll read about it. Just catches me. I prefer past tense, and I actually prefer first person, although I have written several things that are third person, limited more than omnipotent, very much into the limited. I like to get into the feelings of my characters. So that brings us to question 4. Are you a plotter, a pantser, or a plantser? And I have to say that I am very much a pantser. I will plot on occasion, so I guess that makes me a plantser, but I tend to enjoy just opening a book, taking out a pen, and just going from page 1 to the end. There is really no method to my madness. Most of it comes together in the editing phase. I tend to plot while I'm writing, and that's because I'm discovering my world as I'm writing, and I prefer it that way. It makes me live the story. It makes me breathe the story, if you will. And I find that thrilling. I find that if I plot a book, then I will feel like I've already lived the book, and therefore I don't need to write it. And for me, that defeats the purpose of it. So with that, we move on to question 5. Self-published, published, or yet to be published. I kind of fall into 2 categories. I did have a book self-published in 2010. It was for my family. It sold about 100 copies because I really wasn't trying to promote it, if you will. And every now and again, I actually get money from Amazon for it. which is kind of funny. I kind of want to know who's still trying to buy that book. I think I've grown a lot as an author, and maybe one day I'll take it down and try to fix it up a bit and spruce it. But I'm also yet to be published in a traditional sense, because that is where I want to be. I actually prefer traditional as opposed to self-publishing. I mostly just want the team behind me, and it feels good to know that there's a lot of people that support a book in its creation. It's nice to talk to other people and get their ideas and bounce things off like a team. What publishing company, literary agent, and or printing company are you represented by or use? And of course, if you're not yet published, what is your dream publishing house or literary agent? So I did have an agent, and she's a really nice agent, and I really loved her, but we decided to separate amicably, and so I'm back on the market for finding a new agent, and I wish her all the best in her success with all of her clients, and there's definitely no hard feelings on that. As for publishing companies and agents, I don't try to play favorites, because, what if you don't get that agent and then you might get salty and things like that, or you find out that what you would consider your dream agent turns out to be not as dreamy as you thought they were. I would prefer to find an agent that loves my books, that loves the path that I'm trying to do and the ideas I'm trying to do, and will stand there as an advocate for anything that I write, and is not afraid to tell me the cold hard truth about my books if they're not selling or if they're not, doing anything. I don't like sugarcoating. I'd rather people just say their mind and that's it. So question 7, what AuthorTube related videos can we expect to find on my channel? I'm very much a vlog type person. I might sprinkle some advice here and there, but for the most part, I like to share my journey as a writer. I write everything by hand until I'm at the editing phase, and then I take the hours and hours of excruciating pain to edit a book. I am lucky to be married to an editor who also does not sugarcoat anything in my books, so he's not afraid to tell me if I'm doing something wrong. And sometimes that's very frustrating, and sometimes it's actually a wonderful thing, because I feel like I can bounce things off of him, and we are a team. We both want to see my books succeed, and he will do what it takes to help me with that success. With that being said, if I go to conventions and I talk to people, as long as they're okay with me recording, I will record, and I will do what I can to share that journey with you. And I might do some montages of letting you see what my writing is like. I do a lot of calligraphy. Let me move him real quick. I can actually give you some samples of it right here. So this is actually some of my calligraphy, and it's all done by hand. I actually take a lot of time to do things by hand, and I actually take the time to research how languages and how scripts are written. I also do, and see, this is an example of a book that has been plotted a bit, but I also do maps, things that can enhance my visual about how I think something should be done. I tend to do that. Like, I'll do little symbols and things that help give me reminders of what I'm looking for. And that's definitely something that I want to share while being on this journey, because I absolutely love the old ways that books used to be. I take the time to go out and pick out the right leather bound for any story that I'm doing, and every story has a specific set of leather bounds to go with. I'm actually pretty picky. My husband has seen me in Barnes and Nobles for about 3 hours trying to figure out which leather bound goes with which story, and I'll even pull him aside and talk to him about it so that we could find the right one. So the next one, number 8, is when did you start writing? So I believe my first book was actually when I was younger, and it was about a pregnant cat who got lost and was trying to find their family, kind of a homeward bound thing. But I started writing very professionally when I was 12. I wrote sci-fi. I even sent that book out to Tor Publishing. It didn't get published. That's fine. It actually didn't have much editing. But I've been writing with a professional idea in mind for that long. It has been about 22 years now, and it's been an interesting journey. And that actually goes with number 9 too. What was the first story you ever wrote? I just shared it. The one that I sent to Tor Publishing was a sci-fi YA about a war, a child who didn't realize that he was actually an alien, and he was taken off Earth, and he became the prince of these metallic dog-like alien race. I actually still have the original folder and rejection from Tor. This was back before you could even email, so I literally have a hard copy of that. So number 10, what authors have inspired your writing the most? I have a long list. Neil Gaiman, Brandon Sanderson, Bruce Coville, Edgar Allan Poe is a big guy, a big one that was influenced me a lot. David Eddings. I mean, you can see behind me I have a wall of books, and this is maybe only 1/3 of my collection of books. I've got more books than I have the bookcase. We have Asimov back there, Jim Butcher, Sherilyn Kenyon. I'm a type of person that likes to write about dark stories, like I said, so I read a lot of dark stories. Horror, mystery, fantasy, basically anything I can pick up. Let's see. Number 11. Do you schedule your writing sessions or simply get to writing whenever you can find the time? It really, really depends. I tend to do anywhere from 4 to 12 hours of writing a day. Right now I am in the middle of doing my final edits for my novel before I set it off to beta readers, and I've been doing 3 12-hour days every day. I say 3 because, well, technically it's 4 now. 4 12-hour days. But I wake up, I get my coffee, might do an exercise here or there, and then I go straight on to editing. Writing's the same way. I prefer writing by hand, mostly because I get headaches with the computer, so I like to keep it as, light a candle and get a nice atmosphere going on. Maybe listen to some ASMR fireplaces, coffee shops, stuff like that, especially during this time, right? And that actually goes right into question 12. Do you type on the computer, typewriter, write everything out by hand, or use a blend? I wish I had a typewriter. I love those things. I used to have one when I was younger, but moving from my parents' house, I don't have it anymore. But as I was saying, I write everything out by hand, like I was showing you with some of these books, and then I transfer it into my computer. Makes it easier for my husband to edit it, and then I edit it, and it's just an easier format to send out to agents But yes, I definitely start everything by hand. And I don't care. I love it that way. I love the smell of the leather, the smell of the paper, the smell of the ink. I'm big with fountain pens and quills. I just love doing it. For me, it's so nostalgic. It really brings the world alive, I think. And so it brings us to our last question. What are you most looking forward to now that you're a part of AuthorTube? Well, I've been enjoying the community even as a watcher, and that is something I want to continue. I'd love to actually be able to reach out to the AuthorTube people to just be able to create friends and fellow writers and be able to share in our triumphs and our victories and our failings as well, because we're going to have them. If I can advise anyone and help others, I would love to be able to do it. I might even on occasion talk about my type 1 diabetes, because this thing really is a big thing in my life, especially during writing. Sometimes I can't write as much because of my illness, but I like to just share my life as a writer, and that's what I'm hoping I get out of it, is friendship and family and community. And all I have to say is thank you guys for watching and for joining me for the first time, and hopefully this will be the first in many videos. And please leave a like if you can, if you'd like to. Subscribe. I wouldn't mind being able to reach out to more people, and if you have any questions, comments, link them down below. I would appreciate it. You have a great day, and I'm going to get back to my editing now.